done this 3 times now as a head coach. How are you different today than you were 3 years ago walking in as a rookie? And where do you think you are kind of in that spectrum of learning this job?
I guess the first thing I could say is just learning who we are as an organization, learning our players, learning our staff members, and where we're headed, culturally and philosophically. We, Dan, myself, and Brant, just connecting with each other and understanding what we want out of this process, what we want out of our own team and where we're headed. So having that makes all the difference, of course, as you can imagine, coming in here the first time and saying, okay, this is what I would like to be, we're closer to that now. And while every year we have to restart and say, okay, we got to recreate what we believe in again with this new group. Even some of the names are the same, they will all be different in different times in their lives, different personal dynamics happening, contract, different situations like that. So all those things have a way of shifting people's perspectives, and it's our job to reconnect with all those people so we can move forward.
Dave, do you anticipate
You and Dan Morgan both,
Icky
you were a first-year
missing
head.
some time?
What's that?
Are you expecting Icky to miss even the bulk of the season?
I don't know that really, and with the patellar tendon injury, there's a timeline for when you're cleared to work on the field, and then you just have to take it from there. So we're gonna just hit that date first. Icky's been there every day, grinding, working hard with our staff to get the strength, get the range of motion and all those things back, and we'll take it, as it comes.
David, you came in as
sorry.
your first-year head coach, Dan Morgan, first-year GM. Can you just talk about how the trust between you two has grown, with the benching of Bryce? That was a hard decision. Everybody expected you to go to defense, and you drafted, Tedero and McMillan. That paid off dividends. Can you just talk about how that relationship has grown and how you guys have grown together?
Just our commitment to creating relationship, the two of us, and any of these conversations I have to include Brant, because this is a group where from a day-to-day standpoint, we talk a lot. We're on the phone together. We're sitting in an office. We're hashing things out, talking about where we're heading, talking about right now, and just making sure that we're connected on that level allows us to make decisions quicker because we understand what we're after and the types of players that we're looking for, who our current roster is and what their next steps are, putting a staff together, all those things. It just takes time to kind of create that chemistry, and we're committed to it. We're committed to each other and supporting each other and making sure we can have open, honest conversation. And we don't always agree, but at the end of the day, hopefully we're all heard.
Dave, how much is the Bevel's knowledge of mid zone and outside zone kind of evolved working with Mike in Miami and everything like that?
Yeah, they're a wide zone system primarily, and there's a lot of things that that I admire from the outside looking in, things that I would like to see if they can affect our offense in a positive way. But we have our own approach, and the good part is Daryl knows that approach too, so it's a really unique situation where I've been talking with Brad, with our staff, about the evolution of some of our concepts in the pass game, in the run game that have happened over the years. So it's really unique to have Daryl come back now with fresh perspective and the memory to know where it all started, how we evolved these things, because if we can understand where we've been to where we're at, then hopefully we can push forward to where we're going.
Dave, do you have any Luke Kuechly stories from your days in Seattle, either game planning, preparing, or maybe some feedback because he was famous for knowing what plays you guys were trying to run, the opponents were trying to run?
I just remember him being so restless out there, and it's just never stop moving, waving his arms like crazy, bringing safeties down in rotation, sideline to sideline, making plays. Just a beautiful player. And in Seattle, our whole thing was defense, run game, toughness, all of that. And it just felt like whenever we played the Panthers, especially with Luke in the middle, it was always kind of like we were facing a brother in the style of play and the way that they went about their business. And Luke was certainly right in the center of that.
Dave, you mentioned giving up play calling kind of frees you up in other areas of the game. Were you looking at tape from this previous season, and was there a moment where you said, okay, if I didn't have to go to the next play, maybe I would have been able to challenge something?
There were quite a few moments that way. I think there was looking for some of the interactions to be more constructive, and for myself to be available for the officials to have conversations that way, making game management decisions, all those things which you guys can imagine is a challenge to call plays and do those things. I understood the challenge of it. I was accepting of that challenge, but it goes beyond that. It's also being able to affect and impact your players really live as guys come on and off the field, to be able to connect with them, to see something fundamentally I know can help this player let's not wait until Monday when I watch the film to be able to help somebody, and or talk to a coach and say, hey, this is happening. Can I affect our whole team in a more positive way? And this is an opportunity for me to do that.
And just as a follow-up, I know Pete Carroll is one of your mentors. Did you have any conversations with anybody else before you made this decision?
This was something I had to keep in house and speak with Dan about, Brant about, Mr. Tepper. We were all on the same page. They understood what I was trying to get done and how we were trying to do that. And so I did that with all of us being connected. So we made sure that I had the full support of the group to make this decision.
How much was it putting your ego aside? I know a lot of guys you admire, they want to call the plays, and there's got to be a level of ego in wanting to do that. So how much was that involved?
It was a big part of it, and just thinking about wanting to make sure I'm doing the right thing for the team first and foremost, and that's always where I'm going to default. With any of the big decisions that happen for the Panthers football team that I'm in charge of, it's going to be about putting our players in the best position to be successful. And as I watch that, I see an opportunity for two things to grow. For Brad to be able to affect the offense in a positive way, and for myself to be able to affect the whole thing in that way. But it certainly was something that I looked at and look around at the coaches that are able to get this done. It gives me such a huge level of respect for the guys that have been successful doing this model of being the play caller on offense or defense, and also being the head coach and interacting with different things that come across your desk on a daily basis, and what a great opportunity and challenge it's been to be able to see that and to really respect the guys that do it at a high level.
Kind of on that note, though, do you think you'll have to caution yourself during games from going over there and being like, hey, what about this, what about that, or will you give yourself that freedom if something really just stands out to you?
We'll see.
Dan has been pretty open about wanting to bring in another quarterback. What are you guys looking for in that QB?
Yeah, just looking for someone to compete in our room, to challenge our roster. First and foremost, talking about our evaluation process starts with our current players. How do we help all of our guys develop? That's our first commitment. How do we help them take the next step? So we're looking at all that film. We'll connect them when they get back. Then it's looking at our players who are returning from injury. How do we get them back going? How are they going to impact our team? And then it's also about looking at the guys that we've had who are free agents, who are the guys that can continue to help us or create competition in their rooms. Then we go to this process in free agency and see who we can add. And so as we look at the quarterback room with some amazing men in there, is there somebody that can come in and challenge that room?
The Buffalo game, Andy kind of got a little overwhelmed by the rush. Would you be looking for someone maybe a little more mobile for that position?
We'll consider all those possibilities.
What do you feel like, or do you leave Bryce with, that you feel like he's got to do this offseason to take his game and the offense to another level?
Yeah, just continue to pour into our system, our concepts, the ownership of it. I love the strides we've taken in terms of the operation, how he gets us up there, makes great calls, fixes our protection problems, finding solutions in areas where we've talked about to take advantage of coverages, take advantage of different fronts, for run plays, and just wanting Bryce to continue to grow in the ownership of those things, because there are more opportunities for Bryce to affect the game at the line of scrimmage, and I want to continue to build off of that.
Any example in games this year you would say, I wish he'd have done this?
No, but I got good examples of, in the playoff game, Bryce getting in a 3-by-1 formation. He saw a particular coverage and got us to an explosive play to Jalen Coker down the field, and it was the study, it was the understanding, it was getting out of the huddle in a timely fashion and being able to seize a moment. I want more moments like that for Bryce, and I believe that's where we're headed.
Do you have an example? I know you said there were a lot of them, but maybe one you could point to where you felt like, boy, if I hadn't been with the offense between series, I would have challenged that, or I would have done this, or talked to Ajero about this.
I have a lot. I want to stay away from some of those because they may be a little bit sensitive in some areas. But it's not just about specific situations for game management or penalty usage or different things like that. It's also just affecting players. And when I see a player, maybe he may not realize that he's carrying the ball loosely. That's something I can go directly over and address as he's coming off the field, where I don't have to go to the next play. I want to be able to affect the culture and the general way we play, our play style, and the things that we always point back to. I want to be able to make sure that that's happening on a play in and play out basis.
It seems like
this is the last one.
This offseason so far has been reflective for you. Did you have an opportunity to kind of bask in the fact that in your second year, the Panthers did win the NFC South and you did have a playoff appearance?
It's exciting. The growth is exciting. The building is excited about where we're headed. I'm proud of that, but I also understand how hard it was to get to that point, to be available to win the division, to make the playoffs. I know the type of work that it takes, and it really starts now. And so while I've had a chance to reflect, it's like we got to go. And there's an urgency about our group. We all understand that we didn't play good enough in that game, and there was an opportunity to win that game, and we didn't seize that. That's something that we can take into this offseason and say, here were those moments, here's how we improve those things so that we're ready when those opportunities come.
Hey, Coach, you want to clarify that one point?
So I talked about Bryce being involved in the process. This wasn't me asking Bryce to be involved in the decision. This was a decision made. I wanted him to be a part of on the front end of it instead of hearing from it secondhand. Those are conversations that he and I had.
When did you let him
informed, kind of.
It's been over the last couple of weeks. We've had a couple of conversations about that.
So it's more so just keeping him informed.
Absolutely, which I think is really important.